Welcome to History with Kevin. I'm Kevin. I'm not a historian and I'm not a teacher. I am, however, a storyteller, and I'd like to share with you a fascinating story in history. Let's take a journey together and explore a fun tidbit in history. Have you ever heard of the Mustache Cup? And no, I don't mean these or these or these. Now, if you've come to my channel, there's a chance that you may know a lot about the Victorian era, and there's a chance you may know very little. One thing that I want to share with you is that the Victorian era was a time when people had a certain look, a certain feel. There was a poshness to the way that high society acted, and there was absolutely, you dress it to fit into certain aspects of society. You see, most people in England through the beginning of the Victorian era, they lived and they were, for the most part, clean shaven. Then there was an interesting phenomenon that happened. You see, what started taking place is you had British soldiers in India, and what they started to do is they started to want to mimic the Indian soldiers and military men that they came across. The reason being is that the Indian men wore these beautiful, ornate, and wonderful mustaches. You had British soldiers who were trying to copy that. They wanted to wear beautiful and elegant mustaches. As a matter of fact, one of the things is there ended up being an official military decree, and this decree specifically put into notion the fact that while British men had to be clean shaven on the beard aspect and had to have short hair, they were supposed to, or at least encouraged, to have mustaches. Let me read this decree word for word. It was part of the command 1695 of the King's regulations and orders. The hair of the head will be kept short. The chin and underlip will be shaved, but not the upper lip. And again, this was because they wanted to be so much like those in India. They felt like there was a masculinity to that. Well, as with everything, once a certain style starts being chosen, what ends up taking place is you end up having people go to the extreme. Or in general, you just end up having a fad. Well, one of the fads that happened during the Victorian era was really fancy mustaches that had a lot of wax, a lot of dye in them. Now, why would this ever be a problem? Well, at first it wasn't. And then one of the British quirks of drinking a lot of tea started becoming an issue. You see, the hot tea would start melting the wax. Whether it splashed onto it or just the heat directly hitting the mustache, it would start melting the wax, and the dye as well as the wax would get into the mouth. It would ruin the shape of the mustache, and on top of that, it would taste disgusting. So what would the possible answer to that be? You see, there was a man, Harvey Adams, and in 1870, he invented the mustache cup. Now, at least he's accredited with it. And the whole point of the mustache cup was so that while the British men would be sipping their tea, they didn't want to get any of the hot tea onto their mustache or even have the heat directly hit their mustache. The sole intent to protect the mustache while drinking tea. Now, you've seen that I've been messing around here a little bit, and what I want to show you is an attempt at making a mustache cup. So let's go ahead and see how this ended up looking out. I think there's my version of a mustache cup. This is something that became prominent in the Victorian era. It's unfortunate it did end up going away, just as the military brought the mustache cup to England, and the need for the mustache cup. The military also kind of got rid of it. It became impractical for the British soldiers during World War I to keep up with their mustaches. So unfortunately, over time, they ended up putting less and less care into the mustaches, some getting rid of mustaches entirely. But there you go. There's a fun little tidbit in history. I hope you enjoyed this story of the mustache cup. Thanks for joining me as I talked about the story of the mustache cup. If you'd like to hear more history from a storyteller, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you have any suggestions of future videos or anything that you'd like to add, please consider commenting as well. Thank you and have a great day.